What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 13 of the FanDuel Football Multiverse, where we explore various what-if scenarios and see how things could have been different across the NFL. Today, we're going to ask, what if Kyler Murray had actually fallen to the Raiders at pick number 4 in the 2019 NFL Draft and putting them up against the Kansas City Chiefs? I am Jim Sadas, a senior writer and analyst at numberFire, joined here by JJ Zachariason, editor-in-chief of numberFire and FanDuel. JJ, Derek Carr still here for some reason, but we've seen Kyler Murray with Cliff Kingsbury, and that's fun. But Kyler Murray with John Gruden could be wild. So what are you expecting to see here?
I'm hoping for a lot of scoring in this game. You know, them going up against Kansas City. We know Patrick Mahomes will move the ball down the field. So negative game script or neutral game script, Kyler Murray versus Patrick Mahomes should be a lot of fun.
I'm just going to go with Oakland for this entire game because there's still the Oakland Raiders on here, just to be clear. I'm not messing it up. I will mess it up, but I'm not messing it up this time. I'm going to ride with Oakland because they are Oakland on this stream. This is the last time we'll get to see a game at whatever it's called now, O.co Coliseum, with the baseball field out there. It's kind of, there are a lot of tears being shed about this one.
I mean, it's amazing that it went all the way to the year 2020 for the change to not have a baseball field in the middle of an NFL stadium. Like, it's just the most insane. I understand it's not just that, but it's crazy that you have this huge organization in the NFL and they can't just get the baseball field out of the way.
It's wild. But they will go to Las Vegas to play in the Giant Roomba this upcoming season, so that should be a lot of fun. Not as fun as it would be if Kyler Murray were their quarterback, but he will be under center here for the Raiders. $15,000 for your FanDuel single game rosters. First snap of the game, Murray is taken off. Oh, but Chris Jones there to take him down. And this Raiders offensive line played really well last year, but it's hard to keep that man in check for a long time.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot more mobility with the Raiders quarterback in this game because Derek Carr isn't the quarterback. But it's funny, Jim. You know, a lot of people were calling for Derek Carr to not be the starter this year, that they should replace him. They did get your boy Marcus Mariota and sign him as a backup.
Number one quarterback, baby.
Yeah.
Who needs Kyler Murray when you got Marcus Mariota?
Yeah, exactly. But Derek Carr is coming off probably his best season of his career last year, especially efficiency-wise. And that was without a lot of weapons, where we see Darren Waller there catch that pass from Kyler. But without a lot of weapons, I mean, Darren Waller coming off of being a huge breakout, not having any experience, being his number one target. He had no real reliable wide receivers. You had Tyrell Williams, who isn't anything special, and you have Hunter Renfrow, who was banged up for part of the year. I mean, it's not like Derek Carr is working with a lot, but I think things are finally coming together for the Raiders offense. I'm a little bit more bullish, I think, than others are.
As Kyler whips one downfield to Darren Waller. Waller's second catch already. Darren Waller, $11,500 on FanDuel for this game. We've seen spread out target distributions. Maybe Darren Waller is the unicorn who can keep things pretty tight there. Josh Jacobs was $12,000. Zay Jones was $9,000. Hunter Renfrow, $8,500. Tyrell Williams was $10,500. So I think I probably wouldn't have gone Darren Waller. I know I could have just lied, given that he already has 2 catches, but probably wouldn't have gone Waller, given what we've seen so far in these streams where it's super spread out target distributions, random dudes pop up out of nowhere, but paying off so far at 11-5. Murray dropping back to pass again, takes off, and this time gets free, but slides after a gain of a couple. Going back to that Derek Carr discussion, I was kind of surprised. I was going back through, I was doing a piece on traits that have led to quarterbacks taken outside of the first round succeeding and trying to find commonalities. And one of the commonalities for non-first round quarterbacks who hit was athleticism. And in the process of doing that, I found out that Derek Carr is like wildly fast. And like, I had no idea because I wasn't a huge like draft nerd at that time. Didn't remember for whatever reason that he had this really good 40 time and like people touted his athleticism and like he is that. He just doesn't utilize it that much in the NFL. And he's this very conservative quarterback, willing to check down. But like you said, it was effective last year. And if it can be effective, that's kind of what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, look what they did in the draft, too. They get Henry Ruggs, who's going to be a great after-the-catch player. I know that everyone looks at him being this deep threat, and that's all he can do. He's more so a guy you can run a slant, hit him on stride, and he can just go, right? So you have Henry Ruggs. They get Lynn Bowden, who's a good, athletic specimen in the backfield that can catch a lot of passes, who can play wide receiver, too. played everything at Kentucky.
Yeah, quarterback.
Quarterback as well. And then they get Bryan Edwards, who to me was one of the better picks of the draft at wide receiver. He's someone who generated a lot of yak at South Carolina. He was fourth in all of college football last year in screen catches. And so, Bryan Edwards last year, I guess 2 seasons ago, Deebo Samuel was banged up at South Carolina, but Bryan Edwards was putting up numbers that were close to Deebo, and that's kind of the impact that he might be able to make. He's more of a traditional receiver than Deebo is, and he's not going to be used, in the backfield the way that
right.
Deebo is. But Bryan Edwards can be a possession guy for them. I think all of those players, what they did was they brought a lot of good guys that can create yak. And that means that Derek Carr isn't going to be asked to do much more than he's already done. That's exactly what they needed to do.
And I was joking before. I'm not joking. I love Marcus Mariota. That's not a joke. But it's still hard for me to believe that Mariota will wind up as Murray takes off here. He's inside the 20, tries to spin away from a tackle, gets down to the 11-yard line. 2 rushes for 13 yards for Kyler. But as much as I love Marcus Mariota, I don't expect Mariota to overtake Derek Carr at any point this year because, as you mentioned, Derek Carr was good last year, and those additions that they made are going to make that production even better. Now, is he going to outproduce what he did last year? Potentially not, because he may have been due for regression regardless, but this will at least mitigate that regression and could allow him to duplicate the production that he had last year just because it's more sustainable now when you give him those guys, like you mentioned, who can create so much after the catch. So yeah, Derek Carr is not going to be a deep ball specialist, but when he does throw deep, he tends to do well, and he's going to have some guys who can make a lot of magic on those short passes too.
Yeah,
Josh Jacobs, go ahead.
I think you do have to question too with Mariota. I'm a fan. The guys who don't start their careers off too well, which Mariota wasn't even in the bucket of like Alex Smith or anything.
Right.
But the guys like Alex Smith, even Drew Brees to a degree, Ryan Tannehill, who we saw, they need these scenery changes in order to then break free. That's what we've seen with these like later career breakouts. Yeah. With Marcus Mariota, the thing that's just a little bit scary is that we saw one of those breakouts happen with Ryan Tannehill last year. This is a very weird play.
It's a Darren Waller rush.
Yeah. But we saw one of those late career breakouts happen on Marcus Mariota's team last year with Ryan Tannehill in a system that seemed really efficient and really good.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit scary that Mariota wasn't able to do much within that system. Yeah. But hopefully a scenery change works and helps him, because I do think that he has something to offer.
3rd and 2, and Murray goes into the end zone. That's Zay Jones with the touchdown. Zay Jones, $9,000. You may have forgotten that Zay Jones is a Raider, but he very much is. We get Zay Jones, Nelson Aguilar. It's where all like the disappointing high-end picks go to revive their career. But Zay Jones gets the touchdown there.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you read his name at the beginning with the salaries, I completely forgot that he was a Raider. So yeah, I mean, good on you if you ended up using Zay Jones as sort of like you probably clicked his name almost to laugh and to just to get some Zay Jones action. But I'm talking as someone who didn't mind Zay Jones as a prospect at all coming in. I mean, his production at ECU was out of control because they used him a lot sort of in the short passing game. And that actually works really well with Derek Carr as well. But I didn't mind Zay Jones. My prospect model didn't mind Zay Jones. He just really couldn't bring it all together, I think, between the years too.
Speaking of high-end picks who go to Oakland, Daniel Carlson, the exact same thing. Their kicker, 5th-round pick by the Vikings, got cut pretty much right away, now with the Raiders. So if you were ever a high-end pick, you listening, or ever a high-end pick, need to revive your career, just go to Vegas, baby. I'm not saying, gamble, but, you should play for the Raiders rather than, Point Shave or anything like that.
Right.
That would not be recommended. But now, after seeing Kyler Murray lead that touchdown drive, we get to see Mecole Hardman, Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs out here for their first drive of this game. And this is the straight-up Chiefs, as we have not seen the straight-up Chiefs so far this year. We have seen Patrick Mahomes on the Bears. We have seen Patrick Mahomes with backup pass catches. But now we get to watch this Chiefs offense in its purest form with Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. I'm going to include Sammy Watkins in there, despite my better judgment. They are at their purest form right now, and I am excited to see this against a not-so-hot Raiders defense.
Yeah, you were saying that because this is the 3rd time that we've seen the Chiefs, but you're right. We haven't seen the real Chiefs.
Right.
Yet.
But because they're the opponent, we get them straight up, down 7-0. Let Patrick Mahomes eat. He does complete his first pass to Demarcus Robinson, of course. We list every single player on their team, and then Demarcus Robinson gets the first catch.
Of course.
Demarcus Robinson, $7,500. Zay Jones by the touchdown again, and $9,000. So the lower salary guys coming through, but Darren Waller setting a good base for him to blow up later if he can add a touchdown, or maybe he can just pay off by yardage alone. He was 11.5. Patrick Mahomes was $15,500. Slings this one to Sammy Watkins. There we go. The Lizard King. I guess the advanced reptilian solar being, I should say.
Yeah.
16-yard gain for Sammy Watkins.
You love you some Sammy Watkins.
Always do. Always have. Always will. He was... I remember the year... He was part of the reason why I wound up being high on Jared Goff in year 2, because, he was just another thing they added to that offense right before the season started. So I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Sammy Watkins. Awesome for single-game DFS during the Super Bowl, too. That was a really good slate. So there are a lot of reasons for me to be in on Sammy Watkins.
I completely forgot that he made that stop there before Kansas City.
I know. It was very forgettable once it happened.
Yeah, man. It's pretty wild that it's just not even part of my memory anymore.
Right. It was a second-round pick, 2 weeks before the season. I think it was a Saturday preseason game where Sammy Watkins had 4 catches on the first drive. And everyone's like, oh my God. I think it was Tyrod Taylor at the time at quarterback. Oh my gosh, Tyrod Taylor and Sammy Watkins are going to be this amazing duo this year. Then he gets traded and catches 5 balls the entire year for the Rams.
Yeah, and Robert Woods ends up being the dude, right? Because they ended up having the Bills wide receiving group on that team. Yeah.
Travis Kelce showing up there as we come to the end of the first quarter. Patrick Mahomes, 3 of 3 for 34 yards. And the Chiefs driving as we wrap up the first quarter, but the Raiders on top, 7-0. A Kyler Murray touchdown pass over to Zay Jones to lead their first drive of this game. So, Chiefs trying to drive down and equalize this thing at 7-0. Once again, this is the FanDuel Football Multiverse here on the FanDuel YouTube page. We are doing 2 streams per week. Next week, though, will be our final week because baseball almost back now. So, we're going to be closing up next week with 2 more streams we'll talk about here in just 1 second as we get Damian Williams with the run there. But next week, these going to be fun. We're going to see what the Colts would look like if Andrew Luck had retired. That's going to be pretty fun to see Andrew Luck once again, just because it's fun to watch Andrew Luck play football. On Thursday, the final FanDuel Football Multiverse is going to be Ohio State skill position players against Clemson skill position players. That means it's Deshaun Watson. Wayne Gallman should have been the first name I mentioned there, but whatever. Deshaun Watson, Wayne Gallman, Sammy Watkins back for that one, Hunter Renfrow, Mike Williams. It's going to be all
DeAndre Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins. We don't need to mention him. It's mostly about Wayne Gallman. But and then on the Ohio State side, I wanted JT Barrett personally. But they're going to go with Dwayne Haskins instead for whatever reason. I stood up for you, JT. You had someone in your corner here. Dwayne Haskins, Ezekiel Elliott, Michael Thomas, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel. The tight ends were a little bit harder. I think it's Nick Van Ette starting.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's the tight end there?
Pretty sure it's Nick Van Ette. I think Dwayne Allen is the most recent Clemson tight end. So. Man. Tight end might be gross. We're going to test the limits of this Madden tight end theory next week.
Is Dwayne Allen still a thing right now?
I mean, I think he's alive.
Yeah, he's in the free agent pool, but hasn't officially retired.
He might have officially retired. I have no idea, but I think he was the most recent Clemson drafted tight end. There's Damian. Oh, Damian, you had a hole there, buddy. 4 rushes, 23 yards. Could have had the touchdown, but Damian, the selfless man he is.
We should bring Martavis Bryant back for that stream.
That'd be fun. Like a fully formed Martavis Bryant. So he had that freak out season. That could be fun.
Yeah, with Hopkins, bring CJ Spiller back.
Yeah, that could be good too. It's always good when a school has 5 legitimate 4. We're not going to count Hunter Renfrow. 4 legitimate wide receivers, 4 or 5 legitimate wide receivers you could name as recent draftees from one position.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Alabama is going to have that in spades in a year. But yeah, I mean, they have it kind of right now.
Yeah.
But I think I will say this, Jim. I do think that CJ Spiller right now is probably better than Wayne Gallman.
How dare you? How dare you speak ill of Wayne Gallman in the sacred house that is the FanDuel football multiverse? We're finally going to see Wayne Gallman with because we can make the excuse of bad situation before, and he went off in when he had the feature role, but now we're going to see him with a good offense around him, which is even better.
Oh yeah,
so,
that's all Wayne Gallman. There we go.
My goodness. Was that LaShawn McCoy? Oh my goodness.
We called it yesterday.
So if you didn't watch yesterday's stream, JJ was talking about how Pitt players always go off in these streams. It was James Conner, it was Tyler Boyd, and we started talking about was it
John Baldwin?
John Baldwin. And I was like, oh, LaShawn McCoy's in this game tomorrow. And I explicitly said, don't use LaShawn McCoy. Can we Calvin Theobald, the video producer, can you go back and doctor the tape so it says you should use LaShawn McCoy in every roster? Can we do that? Just dub it over with someone else's voice?
Unbelievable though. Pitt is representing in these streams. We haven't done a Rams streams. We haven't seen Aaron Donald go absolutely nuts, or we haven't seen Arizona either with Larry Fitzgerald.
Savage. We haven't seen him go nuts either.
Tom Savage hasn't done his thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Dion Lewis, though. Dion Lewis was involved a little bit.
That's very true. Yeah. There's no Larry Fitz, unfortunately. We should have just done instead of who needs Ohio State and Clemson, we can just do all Pitt for every single position.
Yeah, we know they'd score 80 points.
I don't know if the quarterback play would support that. That is a legitimate concern. That's the reason we couldn't do Alabama for the stream, was because we were like, is it A.J. McCarron? Is it Greg McElroy? Do we fudge the numbers and create Tua?
Yeah, I mean, Pitt would have had Nate Peterman is the direction that would go in.
John Gruden told me Nate Peterman is an awesome quarterback, and he's never lied.
It was so wild to me whenever, because whatever school, because I'm a Pitt grad to anyone who's curious, but the school you go to, you pay more attention to. I'm mostly a college football person when I'm prospecting and after the fact, but I'm a big Pitt fan and I watch Pitt football. And Peterman was fine, and then after the season happens and he's getting, he was rising and rising on draft boards. He ended up not going as high as what some people thought where he would go, but he was rising and rising on draft boards. I'm like, how is this happening? When you watch your team and you're watching your college team, and then this random guy who you always thought, well, that was a nice run by Josh Jacobs. This one guy that you always thought was just fine, and then it's the same thing happened with Tom Savage. You're just like, how is this happening right now?
It's because he's tall and white.
How is this happening right now? Why is he getting touted the way he's getting touted? And then you see it come to fruition, and Peterman having, the games that he's had, especially that game against the Chargers. It's just you feel bad because Peterman was placed in a position where he shouldn't have been placed ever. He shouldn't have been in that position to begin with. And I just feel bad for him almost because, it's not his fault that he was just doing what he could do.
What's really weird, though, is all of Josh Jacobs gets space again. He's into the open field inside the 35, and Josh Jacobs with a huge run. It's up to 51 yards. And I think that all of college football Twitter had a similar reaction last year when they realized Jordan Love was getting a lot of hype. I think Bill Barnwell, Bill Connolly of ESPN, I remember seeing his tweet when he saw that Jordan Love was a hyped draft prospect. He's like, wait a minute, this is this fun dude at Utah State. He's going to be a first-round pick? What?
Yeah, right.
And it was the exact same reaction. Whereas for me, when touchdown Trevor Siemian falls to 7th round, I think it's an affront to society. Trevor Siemian should have been the first overall pick. What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, guys, too, is that Jim went to Northwestern. And
there aren't a lot of guys to tout from Northwestern.
Well, but Jim gets to talk junk on me, basically, until anything big happens between Pitt and Northwestern again, because Northwestern beat Pitt in a bowl game a few years ago. But I will say, that was the year
James Conner and Nathan Peterman both got hurt.
Yeah. I mean, there's a caveat to that, Jim.
Yeah, believe me, I'm very aware, but I also don't care. A win's a win, man, and I'm just going to ride with that. Josh Jacobs again. Oh, my goodness. Josh Jacobs. This might be a Madden legend at this point. He spins off a tackle there as we get down towards the 2-minute warning, but a Northwestern team would be Trevor Siemian, Justin Jackson, and a shrug emoji.
Is there any wide receiver in the NFL from Northwestern?
Rashad Lawrence briefly was in the NFL. Kyle Prater was on the Saints practice squad, I think, at one point. Jeremy Ebert floated around for a bit. Austin Carr on the Saints. How about that?
Oh, yeah, Austin Carr is fun. Yeah.
We'll have Austin Carr play piano in the background while also playing wide receiver. I think we can make that happen.
The most Northwestern football thing ever is that a wide receiver is known just as much for his piano playing skills as his
Yes, it is. We could have Garrett Dickerson, who has occasionally played snaps accidentally at tight end for the Giants.
We have a pseudo tight end in Doran Dickerson. Remember Doran Dickerson?
No.
Yeah,
not even a little bit.
Played a little bit on Detroit. He was like in the John Baldwin type build, but John Baldwin was a first rounder for whatever reason.
I think Danny Vitale's on the Patriots now, so we could have him at fullback. So we got options, just not good ones at most of the spots. First and goal for Kyler, throws it out towards Darren Waller, and Darren Waller gets in for the touchdown. He had built that base with the yardage before, and now he gets a touchdown to add to it. And the Raiders take a 13-7 lead on the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs inside the 2-minute warning here in the first half.
This is fun. This game is fun. We don't usually see, I think going into this game, we would have thought that Kansas City City's probably like an 8-point favorite or something. Sure. Maybe not that high because they're playing in Oakland, but it's good to see the competitive game happening. And Darren Waller's balling out. We just continuously are seeing these tight ends go nuts in these simulations.
Yeah, he has a long way to go to catch David Njoku from last night. I think it was like 8 receptions for 80 yards and a touchdown. But honestly, he's on his way. That is for sure. Kyler looking good so far in this game. He's got 2 touchdowns already, so working his way towards paying off that $15,000 salary tag. Slim Andy Reid.
Yeah,
back.
P90X Andy Reid is back. Looking good.
John Gruden with he kind of looks like Sean Payton, except with John Gruden's face superimposed over it.
Yeah, a little bit. There's this weird thing in these Madden graphics where some of the guys just have really massive heads, and it's just kind of makes me feel weird.
John Gruden looked like he had a very serious neck issue that I feel like he should get checked out. But that was the bigger issue there. We get to see Mecole Hardman return a kick here, which is always a delight just because you can see his speed when he's in the open field. So that's fun. Not as much here. He didn't quite hit the sprint. Oh, he almost spun off that one there. But, all right, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have the ball on their own 31-yard line. Got 1:26 left to go in the first half. 3 timeouts. That is way too much time for that man to do some damage for this Chiefs offense.
Yeah, I would not want to give Patrick Mahomes this much time.
With Sean McCoy, of course, with the lone touchdown so far.
I can't believe that happened.
It was so unreal. It was also a really good catch. That was like Philadelphia Eagles level Shady McCoy on that reception. Naked backfield here for Patrick Mahomes. Slings it out to Sammy Watkins again. Picks up a couple of yards, and because the way Madden works, they're probably going to run it down to like 1 minute and 1 second left and then call a timeout because the decision-making in Madden is questionable at best. We'll phrase it that way. Oh, okay, they might get a snap-off here as they do decide to go no huddle. And, he did get the snap-off. Okay. So sorry for questioning you, Madden. And I think that's DeMarcus Robinson again. So DeMarcus Robinson and Sammy Watkins have 2 catches. Tyreek Hill, I don't think I've seen personally this entire game. Travis Kelce did a catch. Yeah. Finally. 14-7, Raiders on top. Their touchdowns by Darren Waller and Zay Jones. So the stars shining bright here in this.
We have a Zay Jones and a LaShawn McCoy. I mean, look, although Darren Waller didn't find the end zone very much last year, but
true.
We have a Zay Jones and a LaShawn McCoy touchdown so far of the 3.
What more could you ask for? This is not a Travis Kelce catch as he gets down to the 30-yard line. Travis Kelce over the middle of the field is basically a cheat code as Mahomes finds him for a big gain. And again, a lot of time, 50 seconds left, 1 timeout. Easy pickings here for Patrick Mahomes. And again, the Chiefs will get the ball to open up the second half as well. So still plenty of time here for this Chiefs offense to make some things happen. Down by 7 here in Oakland. Mahomes takes the snap. Plenty of time to operate in that pocket and completes this one to Darren Williams, who runs backwards.
That momentum was so unnatural.
I think that's why LaShawn McCoy was in before. They knew. Which is weird because Damien's a really good pass catcher.
Yeah, that's what he does.
14-7, 2nd and 6. Now the Chiefs need to hurry a little bit because we're down to 25 seconds left. Mahomes, this is a Tyreek Hill type play here. We're calling the shot. Hill's on the left. Instead he goes to Damian over the middle, picks up a first down. They call the timeout, but that means no timeouts. 16 seconds left, and what was a plethora of time is now a questionable situation. I guess kudos to the Raiders cornerbacks, which is something that's probably not been said in a decade. But kudos to the Raiders quarterbacks for locking down the outside and forcing the Chiefs to go over the middle.
Yeah, I mean, this is not going exactly as I expected.
Oh my goodness, what are they doing? It's Harrison Butker.
1st and 10, 16 seconds left on the clock, and you're kicking your
field. Why? Andy Reid.
I saw that. I'm like, wait, how is it 4th down?
So Andy Reid got his Super Bowl and has gone full DGAF on us. Yeah. He has embraced his inner Cutler and has decided to kick on 1st and 10 with 16 seconds left.
Yeah. Chat, you should be disgruntled right now. We understand. That's tough.
How many seconds are left there?
12.
I thought it was 6.
12 seconds left. Oh, they're going to kick it off. I hope that the Raiders get like 2 plays off and they're able to score.
They had 3 timeouts. This staff is not done.
Yeah.
Dwayne Harris can do some magic as a return.
Dwayne Harris has been in the NFL for 15,000 years.
I remember logging targets for him, and I'm like, is that a typo? Was that actually Dwayne Harris? Because I didn't think he was allowed to play non-special teams.
Yeah, right.
But hey, it's Kyler Murray, man. Anything can happen here.
Throw
a deep ball to Hunter Renfrow, see what happens.
A handoff to Josh Jacobs is minus 750 right now.
Yes, that's very
It's 100% happening. He'll probably gain
and then they'll call a timeout.
Yeah, 8-yard gain by Josh Jacobs. Call a timeout.
There you go. The JJ Sportsbook is open for business.
Oh, 4-yard
They didn't call a timeout, though. Okay, so there was a mild upset there. But 56 rushing yards in the first half for Josh Jacobs. We'll go to halftime. The Chiefs, for some reason, decided to kick a field goal, and they go to halftime down 14-10, but they will get the ball to open up the second half of play. Once again, next week, our final week here on the FanDuel Football Multiverse, has got a lot of stuff coming back into action. Major League Baseball just around the corner. On Wednesday's stream next week, we're going to see what the Colts would look like if Andrew Luck unretired and took back over the reins of that team. And then on Thursday, going to be a fun one. Make sure you check out the Multiverse landing page. Check out the depth charts of this one. We're going to put Ohio State skill position all-stars up against the Clemson all-stars. It'll be Washington's offensive line for Dwayne Haskins versus the Texans' offensive line for Deshaun Watson. But Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, Sammy Watkins, Mike Williams, Hunter Renfrow, name everyone, and Wayne Gallman, importantly, versus Dwayne Haskins, Zeke, Michael Thomas, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Nick Van Ette. What else could you ask for on the Ohio State side?
Are those the two? Do you think those are the two best schools in terms of talent, like skill position talent that we would be able to
skill
find?
Position? I feel like you could go Alabama then, but the quarterback situation drags everything down so much that it's tough. I think that you could make the same case about Penn State, because Penn State is Saquon Barkley, Miles Sanders, Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Mike Gesicki.
Trace McSorley.
Yeah, you could go that way, or Christian Hackenberg. I'd probably go McSorley. Trace McSorley in the preseason last year was a DFS god.
Yeah, he could be fun. He could be fun.
He runs, so that could be fun. But I would probably pick Deshaun Watson over Trace McSorley. But
I think that's the thing, is that we only have a handful of probably 20 to 25 quarterbacks that we would feel comfortable, running a simulation with that. And so you already limit the amount of colleges that you're choosing from there. And then, from there, it's just a little bit difficult. Maybe you could do, I don't know. I can't
with Matthew Stafford and have just run the wishbone with Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb,
Riley Ridley.
Yeah. Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, there you go.
That could be fun.
Georgia could work.
Yeah, AJ Green.
Oh, yeah.
If we're going to dig all the way back.
Yeah.
Georgia would be good.
Georgia would be a good one.
I think that because of Stafford, you could make the case it'd be more fun than Ohio State. But Ohio State's skill position guys are so stupid that I feel like it made sense to go with them. Because like Zeke, Michael Thomas, those are both first-round picks in fantasy.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I think that the choices were correct there. Tyreek Hill finally getting in on the action.
We could unretire Kerry Collins for Ohio State. Maybe that could work. 14-10. But the Chiefs driving here, like you said, Tyreek Hill getting his first reception of the game. Mahomes with the handoff to Damian Williams, but he gets stuffed immediately. 6 carries, 21 yards for Damian. The touchdown for the Chiefs was by LaShawn McCoy, but no carries or touches for LaShawn McCoy outside of that. Touchdowns for the Raiders by Darren Waller and Zay Jones. But a fun stream so far because it had good quarterback play on both sides. And anytime you have that, you're going to have some fun Madden games for sure.
No Derek Carr. I did promise I would talk about Derek Carr and some stories with Carr on today's stream. Back in after his rookie year on numberFire, where we write our content here at FanDuel, I wrote an article about how Derek Carr's year one numbers essentially showed that he doesn't have a bright future in the NFL, or probability-wise, it doesn't look very good. Players with that low of an expected points total generally don't pan out, as true superstars. And I think that's right. I don't think Derek Carr is ever going to be a superstar. I think that his career trajectory went a lot better than what I expected, based on that really quick study and quick and dirty way of doing things. But that was back in the day when numberFire had comments on articles, and people. Raider Nation, man, you guys are rough. I know we talked about Twitters yesterday and all the different fantasy Twitters, and we ranked them a little bit. I wouldn't put Raiders Twitter down too low because I worry about my safety. But no, Raiders fans are passionate. There's no doubt about it. But it got to the point where, I mean, I got every single threat imaginable after saying that Derek Carr might not be the future for the Raiders. But then there were people coming back in the comments, and they were like, don't you know that Derek Carr is such a great human being? And I'm like, guys, I'm sure he is. I'm sure that I would love to get a beer with Derek Carr, hang out. Sure, he could carry a great conversation, but I'm not looking at that.
Why are they showing Jalen Richard here? Sorry to sidetrack.
Why are they showing Jalen Richard? Is he going to be on the field here?
I remember that same offseason, I wrote an article about Derek Carr and how his numbers weren't that good, and I had mentioned within the piece that Carr got better after the head coaching change. And someone used my piece to clap back at you, and I was like, no. Did you disregard the rest of the piece where I said that his numbers weren't actually that good?
Right.
Like, let's pump the brakes here a little bit.
Right. Yeah, man. It was a rough. I mean, that was like early in our careers and all of that. So it was a rough time. It was rough to get destroyed like that.
Yeah. But again, like you said, like he's been fine. But I don't think he's ever necessarily proved that wrong. The other thing, too, I think, with Derek Carr is you have to factor in where he went in the draft. Because we talked about this before, and we give NFL evaluators a lot of flack for busts that they have. But especially at quarterback, draft stock is so often linked to how good a quarterback will be in the NFL. You have Russell Wilson, you have Tom Brady, you have Drew Brees, these guys who were not first-round picks who do pan out. But they are very much in the minority. Most every quarterback who winds up panning out is a first-round pick. That's just how it goes. And the higher they go in the first round, the more likely they are to be good. And Derek Carr was a second-round pick. And I kind of think, like, if we're going to speak about this, as Kyler's going to bomb one downfield. Oh, my gosh! Woo. Tyrell Williams, how did he get that open 78 yards?
Man.
Kyler unleashing.
That was a dime, but it didn't matter.
Wow. That's the one thing Tyrell Williams can do, is get open on a deep ball. And Kyler Murray took full advantage, 20-10. The Raiders on top with the extra point coming. My goodness.
This is a shocking outcome, I will say.
Yeah. So, Kyler's good. That's all we can say.
Yeah.
But going back to the Derek Carr thing. Okay, so from a math perspective, there's a thing called a null hypothesis. And the null hypothesis is a hypothesis you put forth and you need to be able to reject a null hypothesis. And I think the null hypothesis for a quarterback who goes outside the first round is that they're not going to be a success. You need to find evidence that allows you to reject the null hypothesis. Derek Carr performed pretty well as a rookie. but I don't think he performed well enough for you to reject the null hypothesis that he will not be a good NFL quarterback because of your prior assumption of him being a second-round pick. So I think with the information we had then, it was the correct assumption, and from a results-based perspective, he didn't wind up being a superstar. So I think the process is right, and as we've seen, we've still got people calling for Derek Carr's job several years down the line. I think that means the results of it were correct as well.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing with Derek Carr and why he's so divisive is because he had that one season where his touchdown total was way inflated and way more inflated than it should have been. And that's the same thing that we saw with like Blake Bortles, where Blake Bortles had that like 35 touchdown season. But a lot of people, aren't digging deeper to look at just something as simple as touchdown rate and how it's not sustainable, and how Blake Bortles was accumulating those touchdowns. So it was similar with Derek Carr to a degree, and that kind of number generally regresses. But at this point, I think there's enough there. It's so strange how the way that we are positioned with players is based on the market and the way people are viewing those players than how we actually view those players. So it's no different in fantasy football, where if I say, avoid this player, it means avoid this player at his cost, right? And so if that cost changes, then my opinion on that player and the way that we should approach that player changes.
And that's what I feel.
Yeah, that's how I feel with Derek Carr, where at first I'm like, no, Derek Carr is way overrated based on how you're rating him. But now, after last season, I almost want to say he's underrated, because last season was not nearly as bad given the situation that he was in and all of that. Not nearly as bad as what people think. So I'm now on the train that I hope Derek Carr succeeds, and that now Vegas is successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the world's a better place when John Gruden is interesting and relevant. So that would help too. Is there's a face mask penalty call here on that tackle of Damian Williams. Chiefs need to climb out of a hole, which is weird because, again, the Raiders back to their old form, up 21-10. But the Chiefs driving. They are now in Oakland territory. And they got Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, and as we saw in the Super Bowl, 2 minutes and 18 seconds left in the third quarter is way too much time for an offense led by Patrick Mahomes.
That Super Bowl, man, thinking back, it was so boring for so long. And then you had that like spurt of like 5 minutes, and that was it. That was the game, because Patrick Mahomes can do what he does. But like looking back, it should have been I feel like it's not going to get the right love that it should as like a good Super Bowl, because what Mahomes did was so incredible. Realistically, it's just become expectation with him.
Boring wasn't the word I would use. I'd say stressful, because I had the Chiefs spread, and I had the over on their team total, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose this. It sucks. Like, I was sad. And then I had given up hope. Like, I had resigned myself to the fact that they weren't going to cover and they weren't going to get, I think it was over 30 points. And my DFS lineups weren't doing that well. And, like, I was bummed out. And, like, we had people over at the house when you could have people over at houses without risking the spread of infectious diseases. And I was, like, sitting in the corner and I was, like, bummed out. And then Damian Williams busts off a long run, gets the over on the team total, helps them cover the spread, and was huge for DFS. And like, I've never had a single play that has made me as happy. Even like when the Jets, because I was a Jets fan, stupid. But even when the Jets went to like the AFC Championship games, I never had a single play that made me as happy as that Damian Williams long touchdown. It was magical.
Do you remember when in the divisional game against the Steelers, Doug Bryant, wasn't that his name, the kicker?
Yeah. And on eBay the next day, someone had like cut out a picture of Doug Bryant's head and put it on like a silver platter, and like they were trying to sell it. And eBay's like, no, this is not ethical.
Yeah, not good.
Back when eBay was a thing. I guess eBay's still a thing, but I remember that vividly as Damian picks up a first down there. That was brutal.
Steelers also
the championship game. Yep.
Yeah. Steelers also beat Sanchez.
Remember when Mark Sanchez went to back-to-back AFC championships?
Yeah, what is this? It's just so wild how things can turn so quickly.
I don't think that could happen. Like, I guess Blake Bortles went to one, too. And they're kind of similar, but, like, weird things can occasionally happen in the NFL. There's Blake Bell, our boy, dropping a pass. Going back to his previous form.
I miss the days when Blake Bell balled out.
They'll be back again. Don't you worry. Just trade Travis Kelce, build the team around Blake Bell, and see what happens. Profit.
Is perfect.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, I forgot he was in this. That's weird. 21-10, Chiefs. 11 seconds left to go in this third quarter. Trying to get on the board here once again. There's Blake Bell. Go, baby.
So, Jim, let me ask you. The third quarter is about to end.
Yeah.
What's the current line? Let's do this. I'll ask you that question. I'll ask you that question after the 7 seconds is up. Because they get one more play here.
No, I'm going to say Raiders -4. That's the live line.
I'm going to say Raiders -3, but I think -4 is fine.
Because I feel like then you're setting yourself up if the Raiders score any more points. But Damian taken down short there. I feel like I would take the Chiefs live, personally.
Yeah, I would.
Because it's Patrick Mahomes. And, I've made it my life goal never to root against Patrick Mahomes. And that involves betting because, I'm going to root for my bets. Yeah. I never want to root against Patrick Mahomes because I am terrified of that man.
Yeah. I mean, he's... The crazy thing with Mahomes, too, is that there's been reports that, he's only now starting to, understand football. It's how is this possible?
And I feel like those have to be exaggerated. There's no way. You watch him play, and you're like, he gets it. That has to be exaggerated.
You hope, yeah.
I hope for the rest of the league. Because he's just been disgusting. But it is 3rd and goal. So if you did want the Chiefs +4, that's going to make things a little bit interesting here because if they kick a field goal, then they're down by 8. And that's a bit of a tough spot. Math? Yes, okay, I had to check to make sure that I was right. Ooh, okay. I haven't done math in a while, so we're anytime we throw out some math terms here without thinking too much, it can get pretty hairy. But Mahomes throws it to the end zone, and there is Tyreek Hill getting the touchdown, and that makes it a 5-point game. Field goal here would make it a 4-point game. But Tyreek Hill gets the touchdown and cuts it down to a 1-score game.
I bet they're going to kick the extra point here because...
They should go for 2.
They should go for 2. Any of you guys watching this right now and you're saying, no, you kick the extra point, you delay going for 2, you don't delay going for 2. And here's why. You need as much information...
Oh my gosh, it's actually Andy Reid!
Yes! Wow. Thank you, Andy.
Andy coming through. Damian gets the carry. Oh, no. Okay, but they know. Now they know.
Yeah.
Which is what you were talking about.
That's the point. Your probability of converting going for 2 with 0 seconds left on the clock if you score at the end of a game versus 2 minutes left is no different. So if you miss with 2 minutes left, that means that you would miss with 0 seconds left. If you're missing with 0 seconds left, you don't have time to potentially make up for that. Right. So you should always not delay going for 2. I mean, there's a break even where, if there's 9 minutes left in a game, it's not necessary to go for 2 just yet necessarily. But, generally speaking, if you score with 2 minutes left and you know that you need that other score of some sort, then you should go for 2 right away.
I think the way to think about this is think of college football overtime. In college football overtime, the team that wins the opening coin toss will always play defense first. And the reason is they want to know how many points they have to score. If you go for 2 early, you know how many points you have to score, and that's valuable information to have. Same reason why, it's an advantage to be at home in baseball because you get to bat in the bottom of the 9th. You know how many points you need to score. That is valuable information to have because it's going to dictate the way you call the game. My goodness, Kyler's been good. But it's going to dictate the way you call the game from there on out. So if teams defer possession, opening up overtime in college football, then you should want to go for 2 as early as possible so you know how many points you need to score in the NFL as well.
Exactly.
So the Chiefs not currently covering that 4-point spread. 21-16 with the way that Kyler has been playing, they're probably going to score again. But they decide to go with Josh Jacobs here, and that's been fine too. This Raiders offense has been unstoppable no matter what they've done. 61 yards for Josh Jacobs, touchdowns for Zay Jones, Darren Waller, and Tyrell Williams. It's been a spread out day, but basically whichever way you've gone when using the Raiders, you've been good. I mean, Zay Jones with that touchdown now kind of irrelevant because he hasn't done a whole lot outside of that. But basically every route in this Raiders team has paid off at this point.
Yeah, that play by Tyrell Williams really shifted the landscape in this game. But there he goes again, I think.
Another catch there. Kyler 9 of 10, 171 yards, 3 touchdowns. Disgusting.
Tyrell with 3 for 109 right now, too.
It's a very Tyrell Williams line.
Yeah.
I'll have to get Al Zeidenfeld in chat to release the Tyrell the Gazelle gif at some point.
Yeah.
21-16, 4:24 left in this fourth quarter. Handoff goes to Josh Jacobs up the gut, and he is stuffed, but does keep the clock running. The problem with trying to run out the clock here is that it's a one-possession game, and it's Patrick Mahomes as the opposing quarterback. You want to add to your lead to make it tougher on Patrick Mahomes rather than just draining clock, because they got 3 timeouts, a lot of time left. You want to add to that lead and put Patrick Mahomes in a bigger hole if you at all can.
Yeah, you can't get conservative against Mahomes.
2nd and 9 for Murray, all the time in the world, throws it to Josh Jacobs, and Jacobs makes a reception, spins forward for a first down. Look at those, Josh Jacobs.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs, another guy kind of similar to Joe Mixon, JJ, where the draft cost tied to him is pretty high. You can see the case for it, but there are also paths to failure. So I can see both sides of it for Josh Jacobs. What is your evaluation of him from a fantasy perspective for this year?
Yeah, I would say the difference between like a Mixon and a Jacobs is that Mixon doesn't have... Oh, there goes Kyler in a crazy run.
He's so fast.
Ooh.
Oh, my goodness. Inside the 25 makes another man miss. Oh, my goodness. Pick up your jockstrap at the door. Kyler Murray making moves. 37 yards rushing, and he's having a huge day, too.
Yeah, so back to what I was saying earlier with Joe Mixon and Josh Jacobs. With Mixon, you know, all that's in his way from a receiving share and a target share standpoint is Giovanni Bernard. Whereas with the Raiders, what they've done this offseason, they re-sign Jalen Richard, who's a pass-catching back. They then go draft Lynn Bowden, who's a pass catcher. It's just a little frightening because there's a little bit more competition for those looks through the air, which is why, you know, if those guys weren't there, Josh Jacobs would be an easy first-round pick.
Right.
But because they are there, I do worry about where his ceiling is at as a receiver.
And like the frustrating thing is that Josh Jacobs, when he got, you know, receptions in college, was amazing.
Yeah.
And they've talked him up at times as someone they think can be a pass catcher, but then their actions say otherwise. Like, I believe Josh Jacobs, at given volume, could be a really good pass catcher, but their actions just tell me that they're probably not going to use him that way this year.
Yeah, exactly. That's the frustrating part. You know, coming out, Jacobs was sort of billed that way as like he would be like a not Christian McCaffrey type.
Oh my goodness, that's Tyrell again. His second touchdown of the day. Tyrell Williams did nothing in the first half. Then a 78-yard touchdown, picks up his second touchdown here on a beautiful pass by Kyler Murray, and the Raiders go up by 2 scores again.
Man, love it. Kyler's killing it in this game, man. That's a touchdown.
Kyler Murray, he's become cost prohibitive. And I mean that both from a betting perspective and a DFS perspective, or a season-long fantasy perspective, because he was such a popular MVP pick at the beginning of the year that you can no longer bet him. Like, his odds are just too short. You can't justify betting him anymore. And the same thing has happened for a season-long cost. Ever since DeAndre Hopkins went to the Arizona Cardinals, like, Kyler Murray is disgustingly expensive for fantasy. I get it, and I think it's justified, but it's hard for me to get there personally with how high he's going right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, this is definitely the first year basically ever in my fantasy writing and analyzing career that the quarterback market seems to be really, really efficient. You know, typically, you know, there are some late round quarterbacks you can absolutely go for. It's just not as obvious as what we've seen in the past. And a lot of people within the market and within ADP, they're seeing that these quarterbacks are able to not just throw the ball well, but there's this big mix of guys who have the floor rushing with the ceiling passing. And we saw that last year with Lamar Jackson, but we get it with Dak Prescott. We're going to probably get more of it with Patrick Mahomes even after what we saw in the playoffs. But, you know, we saw it with Dak Prescott. We get it with Kyler Murray. We get it with Josh Allen. We get it with Russell Wilson. But all those guys, even Daniel Jones to a degree. But all of those guys are now lifted, you know, Deshaun Watson too. They're all top 6-7 quarterbacks, Daniel Jones aside. You know, that's why targeting a Daniel Jones makes sense late. But all of those other guys have that floor ceiling combo for rushing and passing. And that's why, you know, it makes a little bit more sense to go middle round quarterback this year than what we've ever seen, because historically middle round quarterbacks have been really, really bad bets.
And I think the other thing too is that it makes it harder for quarterbacks who don't run as much to be elite fantasy options, because when you have so many guys who will run for touchdowns, you need another path to upside. And it's hard to have a huge path to upside just as a passer unless you're someone who is as efficient as Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, and Deshaun Watson. But those are the guys who are going super high. So you need to be crazy efficient as a passer if you're not going to run. And it's hard to get someone who's going to do that super late in drafts.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't mind Tom Brady this year. I think he's, a fringe top 10 quarterback, top 10-ish. But the problem is for Tom Brady to really be a true difference maker at the quarterback position in fantasy, he's going to have to throw 35 plus touchdowns, period. Like that's where it's going to be. And look, my projections have him at like 30-ish. So it's not like it's out of the question that he can do that. But the problem is that he has to that's the only avenue for him to really get to that point where we know that the quarterback position is replaceable. You can stream the position really effectively. So getting QB8 performance from someone really doesn't cut it anymore. And so that's the fear, unless you're in like a really deep league and you can't replace the position through streaming, etc. But that's the real knock on a guy like Tom Brady.
And I think that's why there has been hype around Joe Burrow, because you're hoping that he can bring some of that rushing and a little bit of efficiency too, without the same cost tied to him as you have with guys like Josh Allen and others. Like there is a path to Joe Burrow being a rushing quarterback, at least a bit, because he's athletic and he can run. You just don't necessarily like project it as you would for some other guys, which is why they're going to go higher.
Yeah, exactly.
28-16, Chiefs driving, trying to put some points on the board and cut down this lead. If they were to score a touchdown, that'd be 23, so they'd have to go for 2 to cut it down to 4. So we need a touchdown, and for them to go for 2, even though they really have no incentive to go for 2, or if they just score twice. So we're gonna have to hope they score twice, basically.
Yeah, I'm thinking that the Raiders are gonna cover that third quarter line.
I should have known. Like my rule is not to bet against Patrick Mahomes. My rule should be not to bet against Kyler Murray. I've owned myself. This is my own fault. There's a pass downfield and a touchdown for the Chiefs. I think that might have been, Tyreek Hill, his second receiving touchdown of the day, and that's going to have major DFS implications because we now have two touchdown performers. And you could see a lineup with Darren Waller that might not even be towards the top of the scoreboard because Tyreek Hill, Tyrell Williams both have 2 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray have both had huge days. This is a really interesting day for DFS.
Yeah, that hurt a lot of people, I'm sure. Like we said it with yesterday's stream, when you get a random touchdown and you're in the lead in a tournament, that's good because that means that other lineups that have guys who have already established and scored some points, they're not getting better. But that one right there, that's gonna change the rankings a little bit.
28-23. This also makes the decision to kick the field goal at the end of the first half even more egregious. Yeah. Because you could have given yourself a chance at a touchdown. Throw it in the end zone 3 times, see what happens. And they didn't. So the Chiefs are gonna have to onside kick here. They're probably not gonna recover because onside kicks are the most futile thing you could possibly do. But that makes that decision even more egregious.
Yeah.
But Kyler Murray, what a crazy day he has had today. What just an insane DFS day. Because, those LaShawn McCoy and Zay Jones touchdowns are totally irrelevant now, given the scores we've seen out of everyone else.
Absolutely.
Well, all right, let's see here if the Chiefs can pick up this onside kick. They still have 3 timeouts left, so if they were to recover this onside kick, we'd have action, for sure. Harrison Butker, work your magic, baby. The kick. Oh, nope, that's picked up. So Zay Jones no longer irrelevant as he recovers the onside kick. Still 3 timeouts, so there's an outside chance something could happen here. Maybe Josh Jacobs will fumble. You never know. There are paths.
Never know.
The interesting thing, too, is that Josh Jacobs has looked amazing throughout this day. He's had a couple receptions, but it doesn't matter because, he hasn't had those touchdowns that guy Tyrell Williams has or Tyreek Hill has. Doesn't have the yardage of Darren Waller. It doesn't matter what Josh Jacobs has done because everyone else has done so much.
Yeah, that's a good point.
28-23. Josh Jacobs could change that, though. He could make me look very silly by ripping off a huge run here. So that'd be fun, Josh. I honestly would be okay with it if you were to do that.
Taking forever to just run a play.
Kyle wants to make sure the chiclets are in order here. So, taking the time in the huddle. New team. Got to make sure all the verbiage is down. Use the sweep to Tyrell. No, okay. So it is Josh Jacobs. Runs over another dude. Josh Jacobs with the truck stick is just, unstoppable in this game.
I feel like he's gotta cap this off with a first down.
I still think my favorite play of this game, though, is the Kyler Murray run, where he juked twice and dudes literally just left the screen.
Yeah.
They exited the view of the camera completely.
They were completely owned.
Their souls left their bodies. 2nd and 8 here. 59 seconds left. 2 timeouts left for the Chiefs. A first down would essentially end this game. Jacobs gets the run, and there's that first down. And the Raiders are going to win this one, barring a fumble, as Josh Jacobs gets the extra point. That's going to solidify things mostly from a DFS perspective. We can start to look at some of the stat lines here. Tyrell Williams, 4 receptions, $132, 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, 4 receptions, 63 yards, 2 touchdowns. Darren Waller actually didn't really have all that much. He had 4 receptions for 48 yards and a touchdown. So I think, again, that lends itself to the point where even though Darren Waller was so good at the beginning, he may not have been necessary to have a winning lineup in this game, which is wild given the way things started.
Yeah, it really is. It's like we saw a flip in the first half to the second half between Darren Waller and Tyrell Williams.
Yeah, absolutely. From a quarterbacking perspective, Kyler Murray, 11 of 13, 207 yards, 4 tutties, no picks, unreal. Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes is good, but it doesn't matter because Kyler Murray was so good. Yeah. Mahomes, 21 of 23, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. That's the best Madden game from a quarterback perspective we've seen. I think this is the best stream. Like from a gameplay perspective, this is the best game we've seen all year.
I agree. This is the one. I am very, very much ready, though, for the Clemson Ohio State stream next week.
That is coming up next week right here on the FanDuel YouTube page. Clemson versus Ohio State, effectively with all the skill position guys in the NFL. JJ, before we tease that out, any final takeaways for you from Kyler Murray shredding the Kansas City Chiefs?
I hope this is the Kyler Murray that we see during the 2020 NFL season, because that would be a lot of fun.
It would be a whole lot of fun, and I have him in our Dynasty League against you, so that'd be even more fun. But Kyler Murray leads the Raiders to a victory. Back again next week for our final week of the FanDuel Football Multiverse. What if Andrew Luck had unretired, and what if we had Ohio State versus Clemson? For Calvin Theobald and JJ Zachariason, I am Jim Saunders saying so long for today. Raiders win 28-23 on the FanDuel Football Multiverse.